Hey, Vikings fans, it's Vikings Uncovered with the RabbitDad. You can see me, follow me on Twitter at FFRabbitDad. I'm your host. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. Let's talk about some Vikings. The week 5 recap. The week 5 recap. The 8th game recap. Week 9 recap. Vikings win 21-13. We are up to 6-2, baby. We are rolling. We are on pace. We're going to get this stuff done. Biggest note I want to mention from that last game was the fact that the defense was absolutely on point the whole game. The one touchdown that was scored by the Colts was a defensive touchdown. Other than that, there was a couple field goals given up to the Colts, and they never had a snap. I believe, at least it was late in the fourth. But the Colts never had a snap inside the 20-yard line, which is awesome. They never got close enough. They never got into the red zone. They couldn't get anything done through the air. The defense was great. There was constant pressure all day. Flores then in his blitzes, his pressures, just I think the stat that they played during the game was at one point the Vikings were like 56% of the time blitzing, which was 6% higher than the next most blitzing team. I like that stuff. That's some special stats right there. 14 different players on the defensive side of the ball were in for at least 20 plays. So they're using lots of players. Everybody's getting in there. Most of the players are getting time to take a play off, take a couple plays off, take a series off. Everybody's getting experience. This is great. This is going to keep everybody fresh. This is going to limit injuries potential. And if everybody's doing their thing, it's good. It's great because just another player here, sprinkle in some more Kamu Grugier-Hill, sprinkle in some more Dallas Turner. Let's go. This defense is rolling on all cylinders, firing. And it's going to keep doing it. What did we have? We had 3 sacks, 7 QB hits last week. Had 1 interception. Flacco only completed 16 passes, which just goes to also show you he was not able to get the ball to receivers because of the constant pressure, because the running game didn't get going for the Colts. It was a great day. There was the leading tackler for the Vikings was Pace. He only had 6 tackles, which is fine. So when the players aren't getting the ball on the other side of the field, you can't really tackle them. So Grenard had a couple of sacks. Jihad Ward had a sack. We saw Murphy get that touchdown, the interception. Byron Murphy, he was doing good things back there, which was nice to see because he had a tough role to play, and I mean against Josh Downs, and he only managed I think 6 catches for 60 yards, which was shocking to me that he only managed that, regardless of where he was on the field. But then we had Turner finally getting a bigger role. I think he was in 33% of snaps on the defense side of the ball. He had that one beautiful play where he came around the side, just 100 full speed, right around the edge, untouched. If he had another half a second, that would have been a sack. It was beautiful play to see. The fact that guy is getting more plays now, I think that number continues to go up a little bit. I think by within a few weeks, I would be surprised if he's not in for 50% of the snaps. Elite level talent you need to keep putting him on the field because he's going to do elite things. He's going to make big plays. Offensive side of the ball. Well, before that, one more other thing I forgot. So also, it was a nice thing I saw that the family of Kyrie Jackson, the fallen Vikings player, he was our 4th round draft pick over this last season, passed away in a car accident over the off season. He was honored by the team. I saw Kevin O'Connell go up and talk with the family members who were at the game. hugs. Great to see you. Just a kind-hearted, warm little moment to throw into the mix of all that. It was a great thing. Uh, so yeah, we'll talk to the offensive side of the ball. So decision making is something that uh, Kevin O'Connell touched on. Something I wanted to touch on as well. Uh, both sides of the ball have been this last week, especially, we're making great decisions. Obviously, not every decision is going to be, the right one and everything. Like, obviously, we saw Darnold throw a couple interceptions. It's going to happen. Hopefully, not two in a game anymore. Maybe, if you got to throw one interception every game, every other game, fine. Nobody's asking you to be perfect. But it also comes to the offensive line play, which I'll get to. I'll lead into as we go on through this. But the offensive linemen, majority of the time they're picking up and catching things and helping each other out whenever they can. It was really good to see a lot of the plays. Obviously, there were a few plays the offensive line did allow 4 sacks. It'll happen. But when you're playing against the guys like Stewart and Buckner on the defensive side of the ball, who combined for 3 sacks on Sunday, it's an uphill battle. Like I mentioned it in the last video, Buckner is an elite talent, like borderline Hall of Fame level talent in my opinion. But him and Stewart just wreaking havoc. Just those 2 guys were enough to disrupt the game a little bit from time to time. But it all turned out well because the offensive line worked together and were there to help pick up like a stunt or an end around, or even the guys blocking in the backfield, the running backs like CJ Ham, Aaron Jones, whoever was back there. But yeah, the decision making on the offensive line, every part of the ball, but the offensive line I noticed there was more teamwork, and the decision making came with that. Because when there's a guy right there who needs your help, if you've got a choice, you can either step forward and pick up another block, or you can break over to the left or the right or whatever side and team up or back up that other blocker. So the offensive line's looking great. Went out with Cam Robinson back in, who gets to the revenge game in this one. He'll be playing his former team this coming week, and we'll touch more on that in a moment. Brian O'Neill, Bradbury, both looking good. That one sack, I know it looked like Bradbury just fell over. Not his fault. Ingram stepped on his foot. It's hard to plant yourself when somebody steps on your foot. Trust me, I know. Sam Darnold completed 28 of 34 passes. I guess if you count the 2 interceptions he completed 30 of 34. The percentage is up there. 290 yards, 3 touchdowns. Great day overall, minus the 2 interceptions. Just keeps doing his thing. He's making good decisions. Again, probably going to say that like 8 more times in this video. He's making good decisions. He's hitting the receivers. And now with another option out there, I mean, it opened up the field for other people to get receptions. And we'll talk about that some more in a little bit too. I just wanted to touch on the running game before I go back into the passing game. Aaron Jones, 21 carries, 64 yards, and 22 yards on receiving. It's fine. It was okay. It wasn't a great day for Aaron Jones. Cam Akers, however, 6 carries for 46 yards, and he had all the reps on 2 of the drives. In that second drive he had all the reps on, he had 3 straight carries, or he totaled 31 of those yards. Akers is the backup to the Vikings running back room now. He's overtaken Ty Chandler, who didn't even have a carry again. He knows the offense because he was here last year. And the offense really hasn't changed much. Obviously. He's more explosive. Really, the biggest thing that's hampered him over the years is the fact that he's had such bad injuries in the past, which is why he missed most of last season. It was his second Achilles tear. So as long as that Achilles holds up, we've got a great secondary running back. will be able to come in there and spell Aaron Jones from time to time and do just as well. It's the talent level that Cam Akers has. He would be a starting running back in the NFL if he keep hurting himself, keep getting hurt, not hurting himself, keep getting hurt. But just those fluky injuries, like Achilles tear, it's something that kind of happens. And yeah, when you get it once, it's more likely to happen again than somebody who's never had one. But he's explosive. He's agile. He can break tackles. He does everything a great running back needs to do. He's a lot like Aaron Jones. Just Aaron Jones doesn't have those catastrophic injuries. I'm trying to think of an amazing running back duo in the past, but I'm trying to think of two guys that work out. Okay, so Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams from the Panthers from like 10 years ago. That was a great tandem running backs. If we go back even farther, we're in our purple. We talked about Robert Smith and Leroy Horde. Not the same situation because those two were completely different running backs. Robert Smith was the guy who get the ball, take it around the end, off tackle, shoot up a big hole in the middle, and just break it open for 40-yard gain or a touchdown, whatever. Just speed all over the place. Whereas you had Leroy Horde, who was more the bowling ball guy. He famously said, I believe that quote was, if you need 3 yards, I'll get you 4. If you need 7 yards, I'll get you 4. Something like that. Just consistent, and he was unstoppable in that short distance. Just the fact that he was such a bowling ball. I guess Akers is probably a little bit more like Horde if you were going to really compare either of them to the others. That Akers would be more like Leroy Horde, and Aaron Jones would be more like Robert Smith. It's going to be really fun to see if Kevin O'Connell uses the ability to have these two running backs and more tandem situations on the field, whether at the same time or doing different things or doing something that the other one would do just to throw them off, because they can both do the same kind of things. They can both bowling ball up the middle. They can both get around and make big plays. They can both catch the pass out of the backfield. It's going to be, like I'm going to say, it was really exciting. It's going to be exciting to continue to see how the offense develops in the backfield with these two guys going at full throttle. All right, back to the passing game. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson. Every single week, we're going to talk about how he's just continuing to do this over and over again. 7 catches on 9 targets for 137 yards. Sans touchdown, fine. But I think the stat that came up during the Vikings game was, I believe, Justin Jefferson was averaging 98-point-something yards per game, which is insane. 137 yards in this one probably puts him up over 99 per game. I mean, is there any debate that he's not the greatest wide receiver in the NFL right now? I'm sure Cincinnati fans or Bengals or Cowboys fans might have a debate, or even a Dolphins fan, but yeah, Jamar Chase explodes like he did on Thursday for 260 yards and 3 scores. And yeah, CeeDee Lamb, he's got the same kind of pedigree as Jefferson. He can have multiple games of 100 yards in a row. But he also needs a quarterback to do that. He needs a really good quarterback, which unfortunately he doesn't have anymore. Tyreek Hill, the epitome of explosive receiver in the NFL. But we haven't seen it this year. So is the time ticking on him? I don't know. But Justin Jefferson is doing great. He's amazing. So glad that we've extended him. He's going to be here for a long time. Jordan Addison scored a touchdown this last week. 5 catches on 5 targets for 42 yards. 5-6 targets a game for Addison. It's what we need. It's what we want. It's going to help the team the most. If he needs to get more, he needs to get more. Jalen Naylor, Brandon Powell, Trent Sherfield each caught a catch. They each had 1 target. They each caught that target. They totaled 23 yards. That's fine. Nothing bad. Just they're doing their roles. They're getting out there. They're making plays when they have to. Tight end side of the ball. T.J. Hawkinson's triumphant return. 3 catches for 27 yards. Or yes, 3 catches for 27 yards. Josh Oliver. Here's where having Hawkinson opens things up, and you see it from what Josh Oliver did. He had the first catch of the game. He had the last catch for the Vikings of the game. 5 catches on 5 targets for 58 yards and a score. Him being on the field gives us a better blocking scheme because it's another guy out there he's a great run blocking tight end. He's a good pass catcher. Clearly, we've been 5 out of 5 this last week. And when he's on the field, and you got guys like JJ and Hawkinson and Jones and Addison and whoever, maybe all of them, all on the field at the same time, Oliver's going to be that guy who's sitting over here like, did everybody forget about me? There's nobody covering me. Sure, I'll take the ball. Boom, 15-yard gain, first down. Boom, 12-yard gain, first down. Boom, 8-yard touchdown pass. Just say I'm glad I have Josh Oliver in some of my best ball leagues, because there's going to be weeks that he pops off and just helps me out there. But yes, the tight ends, it's almost like having the 2 running backs that can do all that stuff together and apart from each other. It's kind of like that with the tight ends. I mean, yeah, Hawkinson's the better pass catcher. He's the more explosive player. And Oliver's the better run blocker. But that's just going to get him out of the field more. So fun to see. All right, let's go into special teams. I know Reichert finally missed a kick, but he was hurt, clearly, because now he's on injured reserve. So he'll be out for at least 4 weeks. The long snapper, Andrew DiPaolo, he'll be out for at least 4 weeks. So we brought in a new kicker. We brought in a new long snapper. The long snapper, his name escapes me off the top of my head. I think he's like a 10 or 12-year NFL veteran, just coming in to snap the ball. That's fine. The kicker, when I first saw the name, I'm like, do I think I know that? Yes. John Parker Romo was a star kicker in the XFL in 2023. He was the all XFL team that year. He made 17 out of 19 field goals with a long of 57. And his last year in college, his senior year, he made 34 out of 34 PATs and I believe missed 2 field goals. I think I said 19 for 21, if I remember correctly. Probably should have written that down. Either way, he's got a good resume, and he's going to kick for us. And his name is John Parker Romo. Yeah, he played for the Brahmas of the XFL? Yeah, I believe that's San Antonio Brahmas of the XFL, who are now the UFL, obviously, but it's still the same team, whatever. But we'll see what happens. He could be just as good. He was good in the XFL. He was good in college. So, like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. Make sure you go out there and get your Romo jerseys in purple. All right. Ryan Wright only punted twice. Had a long of 44. 41.5-yard average. Fine. Nothing really to brag about there. The other side of special teams, nothing flashy. No return-wise, obviously. Let's just jump into the upcoming matchup with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're sitting at the bottom of the league right now after losing this last week 28-23 to the Eagles. This is the 8th time the Vikings and the Jaguars will meet. The Vikings have won 6 of those 7 matchups, with the one loss as back, I don't know, it was like the second time they ever played together. It was like 33-3. But other than that, yeah, 6 out of 7 games Vikings have won. Jaguars also have a point differential of minus 57 on the season. That means over the course of the entire season, their opponents have scored 57 more points than they have all season. This is going to be a good one. All right. Trevor Lawrence, out. So they're going to their backup quarterback, Mac Jones, who we saw have a somewhat successful rookie season in New England, and then fall apart and get yanked off the field over and over and over again in the following years. It was a rough road. It was really rough. I'm sure his psyche got tore apart because, yeah, I think there was 3 different times in that season where they had him start and they pulled him and put in Bailey Zappi. I think there was even one time where they put him back in after they took out Bailey Zappi. Like, he's not a bad quarterback. He's not much of a scrambler, but he can break off a run here and there. He can, not quite like Darnold does, where Darnold will turn a broken play or an open hole into 25 yards. Mac Jones can, turn up like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards on a play if he needs to, and he probably does it once a game. But it'll be interesting to see. Like, obviously, there is issues with the Jaguars. They're falling apart all over the place. They've got injuries up the wazoo, inconsistency all over the place. Last week, the running backs, Bigsby and Etienne, combined for 11 carries and 46 yards. 8 of those carries were for Bigsby, 3 were for Etienne. I believe Etienne had another catch in there too. But it's not a great situation for their running game. They've not been successful running the ball, period, for the most part. I mean, Tank Bigsby's had a couple of good games. And there's also the chance that one of them might not even play. So, or either of them. I don't know. But it should not be difficult for the Vikings to temper that running attack. Their best pass catcher on the season, Brian Thomas Jr., rookie. He has 35 catches for 595 yards on the season so far, and 5 touchdowns. That's 17 yards per reception. That's elite level talent right there. Dude is good. Dude's going to be good for a long time, and he's the biggest threat to the Vikings this coming week. The second biggest threat might be Evan Ingram, the tight end. He caught 5 catches on 10 targets for 45 yards in the loss to the Eagles. Tight ends, they're hit or miss. He's a tight end who's a volume tight end. Like they said, they threw to him 10 times last week. I think they threw to him 11 times the week before. He's going to get targeted a lot, especially because of injuries on the offensive side of the ball. He's going to get targeted a lot. He's going to catch most of those catches, most of those passes. He's going to turn up some yards. But he's not explosive. He's not super agile or wiry. He's just really solid, good NFL tight end. One other guy I want to watch out for, Parker Washington, another rookie out there for the Jaguars. He is a wide receiver, and he also returns punts. He's averaging 24 yards per punt return on the year. And yeah, that's mostly because he had one 96-yard touchdown return this year. But it's just something that they're going to have to watch out for. It's a guy who could explode and make a big play if he gets the opportunity to. Defensive side of the ball, the Jaguars, they had 3 sacks last week. They forced a fumble and returned it for a touchdown, 35 yards. But that's about where the positive part of their defense goes. They have given up 2,502 passing yards of the season, second most. That's behind just the Ravens, who have played an extra game. Granted, it's like by a 600-yard difference, but still. And they've given up over 370 passing yards in 6 of the last 7 games. And that 7th game was against New England in like week 4. So it's going to be a passing palooza for the Vikings this week. I'm saying it. 4.4 yards per carry is what they're giving up on defense. They've also allowed the 5th most touchdowns, rushing touchdowns in the league at 11. So more opportunity for points on the board there. Players I want to point out on the Jaguars' defensive side of the ball, they've got a couple really good ones and another very good one who we've seen a lot. We'll start with him, Darnell Savage. He played his first 5 years with Green Bay Packers. He has 9 career interceptions. Obviously, he's played against the Vikings a number of times, so he is familiar with how the offense has run the last couple of years. So that probably gives him an advantage in certain situations. I'm not saying he's going to, run amok on us or on the defense side of the ball or anything, but it's just somebody to watch. He's quick and he's a playmaker. So we'll just have to see where he is on the field whenever they're lining up on offense, just to try and maybe not avoid him, but be aware of where he is. Let's go to the rushers. Josh Hines Allen. 2 sacks last week. He's got 5 on the season. He had 17.5 sacks last year. Dude is a force. Like, he's right up there with the elite talent of guys like the Bosa's and either Bosa, Watt, even Daniil Hunter. He could put up those kind of sack numbers. And then the other one I want to talk about, Trayvon Walker, another rusher, another young, he's got a third-year player. He scored that 35-yard touchdown last week. He has 6.5 sacks on the season and 20 in his career over 3 years. Very good rusher, very good run stopper. He's just a very good overall guy in the front, in the defensive line, and a rush guy. Just, it could give us some problems, but one of them is going to have to line up against Cam Robinson, and I'm sure he's looking forward to going 100% against either of these guys in some situations. Just, he never got to do it before because they've always been on the same team. So that'll be fun to see. Okay. Injuries. Cashman looks like he might return. He was at full practice on Friday. Those toe things, they can linger. They can get you. I know they want to hold back on him as much as possible. And honestly, if they want to hold back and not have him play one more week, that's fine. It shouldn't be an issue this week against Jacksonville. Gabriel Murphy is a guy who's been out all year. He's been designated to return and might be back this week from his knee injury. We'll see. But it just gives more depth in the linebacker core when we got him back. So it gives everybody else a chance to take a breather once in a while, sit down, get a glass of water, and then come back out for the next in a couple plays. Jacksonville side of the ball, like I said, Bigsby and Etienne. Bigsby's got an ankle thing. Etienne's got a hammy. They're both listed as questionable. They were both limited all week. We don't know. They're going to wait until the last minute to determine if either of them sits out. If the offensive line on the Jaguars, former Viking Ezra Cleveland, he's out. Brendan Scherf, a great guard in the NFL, he's questionable. We don't know. He's going to be a game time decision, it looks like, too. And then also Brian Thomas Jr., who I mentioned as the wide receiver for the Jaguars, he is also listed as questionable with a chest injury. So things to watch for. We're probably not going to find out until right before the game, so sometime at around 10:30, 11 o'clock tomorrow. All right. Betting. Minnesota Vikings, the money line is minus 350 on the Vikings. That just tells you the Vikings are going to win. That's what it tells you right there. Minus 7 on the spread. I would take the over on the. I think the Vikings are going to absolutely demolish the Jaguars. I would not be surprised if it was a double-digit win. Over under 43.5. I'm going to say the under. Yeah, the Vikings might put up 25, 30, 35. They could put up 30 points. I don't think the Jaguars put up very much. I think this is an over. I think it's all over but the crying, as they would say. Vikings win in a rout. So yeah, take the Vikings on the money line. Take the minus 7 for the Vikings. Take the under on the points, because I think they just turn off the Jets and just, as the game nears its end, no reason to try and score more points at that point. But anytime touchdown, I'm giving one to, if I was going to give one more than one, I'd say every single wide receiver on the team could score a touchdown. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say Jordan Addison. I forgot to look it up, but he's probably got better betting odds if you're looking at the anytime touchdown than Justin Jefferson. But yeah, that would be my pick. Fantasy outlook for the week. Let's talk about the Vikings. Lock picks: JJ, Addison, Jones, Darnold. I'm putting him in this category. Like I said, 370 yards in 6 of the last 7 games for opposing passers. Darnold hits 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, you're sailing into happiness for fantasy. The other side of the ball, Ingram, got to start him, even though it doesn't look really pretty. But, I mean, the volume is there, and tight ends are a crap show this year anyways in fantasy. Brian Thomas Jr., if you got him, if he plays, you start him because he's that good. He can turn up big plays and make things happen. Dart throws, I'm going to put a dart throw on Hawkinson. You don't have to start him because obviously if you're playing, you probably had somebody the whole season before you had the opportunity to start Hawkinson. The defense I was borderline putting it yes and no. It's probably more of a start him if you got him thing. Jaguars, I would put a dart throw on Mac Jones, the quarterback, as the Vikings do give up a lot of fantasy points to wide receivers or two quarterbacks, and they're still among top 5 in passing yards allowed per game. Bigsby and Etienne, if one of them sits, you start the other one, and it's just a volume thing because either one of them could end. If one of them plays and the other one sits, I'd say 45 rushing yards, maybe 15, 20 receiving yards, maybe a fluke touchdown. I mean, if they both play, I ain't touching either of them if I don't have to. And then another dart throw, I mentioned it before, Parker Washington. Because they've got so many guys, Christian Kirk's out for the year, and it's just kind of a jumbled mess of other pass catchers over there. So, I mean, after Ingram and Thomas, the next best option is probably Parker Washington, and then there's the chance that he scores a punt return touchdown. It could happen anytime. Who knows? So those are the fantasy outlooks. Now wrap up the show for this week. Thank you again for tuning in and watching the Vikings Uncovered, part of the Undroppables Network. Again, I am the RabbitDad at FFRabbitDad, as you can see on Twitter, right down there. My pretty ears, my Harrison Smith jersey. In case anybody was wondering why you haven't seen that banner up the last couple of weeks, it's because I had that new banner a couple weeks ago. Vikings lost 2 games in a row. That thing is sitting on the floor right now. Ain't going up again anytime soon. So we'll just keep that on the floor. But anyways, thanks for watching. Enjoy the game on Sunday. Skol Vikings. Let's make it 7-2, guys. I feel it. I know it can happen. Let's go.